Hello, trumpet players. This is video number 1 in our multi-video series dedicated to the comeback trumpet players. In this video, we'll be talking about what is a comeback trumpet player and why am I qualified to teach those students and speak on this issue. Like I said, this is going to be a series. This is the first video, and it's basically an introduction. We're going to get certain things out of the way. First thing is, what is a comeback trumpet player? A comeback trumpet player is somebody who has taken considerable amounts of time away from the trumpet. We're talking years, sometimes decades. I commonly work with students who have played in high school and took 20, 30 years off, and now in their retirement would like to start playing trumpet again. Some don't even wait until retirement. Some have started trumpet over again while they're still working and have families and jobs and stuff like that, and that's cool too. But yes, these are students who played some in high school, played some in college, took time off, many, many years off, and now they're trying to make a comeback. That's where the word comes, right? Well, we call them comeback trumpet players. Now, why does a series need to be created? Why are there guides? This is not the only guide. I'm probably in one of the earliest trumpet comeback player guides. There was a friend of mine in Norway. I call him a friend. These are internet friends, right? People who I used to hang out with in the 90s, when the internet was brand new, right? And I used to hang out in these trumpet forums, and one of my internet friends, Ulla, living in Norway, put a guide together and took contributions from different teachers. And so, yes, this is not something that's new to me. And the idea of a comeback guide is not new. But why do we even need it? Why do we need a comeback guide? I believe it's because the comeback trumpet player's expectations are different. And they're inherently different because they already have some education, and then they have years and years and years of musical growth. Your mind does not stop growing musically after you stop playing the instrument. You put that instrument in the case, you put it in the closet, but life doesn't stop there. Musical life doesn't stop there. You continue to have musical experiences throughout those years that you're not playing the trumpet. So your expectations of what's good and what's not good and about your own playing are at an entirely different level. And there are other differences too. You know, we have the fact that you are older now, so there are responsibilities you didn't have when you were in school. And also there's the deal of getting older that we need to talk about sometimes, if it's affecting the music, right? Those are things that we want to cover in this series. So it is a wide range of topics that we're going to cover here in the series. In this video, we're just doing an introduction. Now, what are my qualifications for teaching this stuff? My main qualifications may not seem obvious, right? So, yes, I've taught plenty of comeback students. I've taught plenty of other students. I have, like I said, I'm included in probably what is the original Comeback Players Guide. And yes, people have been quoting me on stuff about comeback students for a long time, but that's not my main qualification. For you to understand my main qualification, you have to understand my story. And I've shared this in other videos, but we're going to do it again here because of the context. So let's talk about my story. I went through all the school stuff. I majored in music in college. And if you were to graph my progress, it would look like this. Right? I had in my 4th year of college a crash and burn scenario. And I ended up, I'm going to keep this part short. I ended up rebuilding my physical playing from scratch. And when I say scratch, I mean philosophically, because I was basically cut off from the trumpet pedagogy world. There were things I knew because of the stuff that was available to me, but it wasn't much. And I knew that going into it, so I made a bunch of changes. We won't go into those changes here. But I knew, at that time, I thought I was going into the Army. I ended up not going into the Army because of my ears. I was legally deaf back then. I'm probably more legally deaf now, right? So, but in my preparation to get into boot camp, or more accurately, get out of boot camp, I knew I was going to spend at least 3 months off of the trumpet, and I wanted to write for myself a plan because I had just made all these changes, and my concern was that I would come out of boot camp and forget all of that and go back to the way I was playing before. So I wrote instructions for myself to follow coming out of boot camp. And like I said, I didn't go to the Army, didn't need those instructions for that, but those instructions that I wrote to myself ended up being my first book. Not in that form, but the theory behind it was the first book, The Physical Trumpet Pyramid. That's what brought me back, hypothetically, since I didn't join the Army, what would have brought me back from that 3 months off from playing. Now, what happened was I ended up adopting that as my day-to-day practice regime. What I meant to get me back from boot camp is what I do now every day. And that's the Physical Trumpet Pyramid. I'll try to remember to put a link up here for the video about that. Now, my approach now to the physical side of the trumpet is very similar to what I read a quote of Paganini. Now, Paganini was a famous violinist about 100 years ago, roughly. And the quote is not a quote I've ever found online, so that means I got it from a book. You know, those things that we used to read before the internet. Right. So, the quote was like this. It said, each day, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it here in front of me. Each day I learn my technique anew. Or maybe it was discover. Each day I discover my technique anew. In other words, each day he starts all over again. And that's exactly what I do on the trumpet, even now. Decades later, even now, every day I pick up the horn, I start over. Now, I believe that this everyday starting over is my qualification for teaching comeback players. This is my greatest qualification. Those other things look nice on paper. But in terms of practical, useful information, This is what makes me qualified to teach and talk to comeback trumpet players, is because every day I come back. My philosophy about the physical side of trumpet playing means that every single day I'm a comeback trumpet player. And this is the philosophy that I use for my comeback students. This is the philosophy I use for students who just got braces. This is the philosophy I use for someone who just went on vacation. This is the philosophy I use for beginners. It's such a wonderful approach because it works for all those situations. It works for everybody. But it works specifically well for beginners, people who just had injuries, and yes, for people who took decades off from playing the trumpet. That's what makes me qualified. Now, before I get out of here, I have to split. I'm looking at the clock saying, hey, we're running out of time. Before I go, I want to tell you how important it is. I have another philosophy that I teach. It's called the art of accumulative practice. And the difference of that philosophy from the traditional philosophy says you have to practice X amount or else your trumpet playing is going to suffer. I don't teach that. Now, I do believe that if you believe that's true, then it will be true for you. It's not true for me. It's not true for my students. Okay? I also believe that this art of accumulative practice is paramount for someone who's a comeback player not planning to be pro. If you want to be a pro, then maybe you need to practice a lot. But most comeback players don't have time to practice a lot. And with those students, we teach them this art of accumulative practice, and it salvages their trumpet careers. And I use that word career for anyone who plays trumpet over a long period of time. I don't mean professional, okay? When you learn to make every minute count, that greatly enhances your ability to be successful as a comeback trumpet player. And we will have at least one video dedicated specifically to the art of accumulative practice for the comeback players. Okay, now let me go. I didn't mean to make this a short one. I had trouble getting it set up. All right, so if you have any questions, please ask below. Other than that, God bless you. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. I wanted to spend just a minute to let you know that there's a better, more convenient, more organized way to access all of these videos. We have literally hundreds of videos here on YouTube, and quite frankly, it's a bit of a mess. So, to make it a little bit more organized and easier for you to access what you want to access, I created a separate page, a separate area on my website. That's eddielewis.com. And if you go to eddielewis.com, click on the menu, click on videos. It will take you there. I have the videos categorized, and then within those categories, some of them, like the educational videos, you can click on it and go in there and look for the videos specifically that you're looking for. Okay? So go to eddielewis.com, EDDIELEWIS.com. Thank you very much.